Hey, what's going on, fam? Welcome back to Peggy and Don Stays Ready, because if you stay ready, you won't have to get ready. This channel is dedicated entirely focused on helping you and your family be better prepared for emergencies or any tough times the world may throw at you. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, I appreciate a like and a subscribe. So let's get started. So today is episode 4, which is how to build an effective emergency pantry. Now, when I say effective, I mean you have what you need when you need it. You're able to use it without having to throw away a lot of stuff, because that's just a waste of money. A lot of people um, might get into emergency prepping and just start buying a whole lot of stuff, and a lot of that stuff ends up going to waste because you don't use it within a certain amount of time and stuff like that, or they're just not even able to use it because of whatever circumstances. I want you to be able to create a pantry that's going to be immune to those kind of things. Now, for Peggy and I, one of our favorite ways to build up our pantry is to go to Costco. Costco is one of our favorite places, not only because buying in bulk is usually more cost efficient, it also has one of my absolute favorite pantry items. Now, I'm going to say something here that Peggy says I'm exaggerating, it might be overselling. The item I'm talking about is, to me, the best item you can put in your emergency pantry. She says I'm overselling it. I'm gonna let you decide when I get to it. Now, my plan was to take you inside of Costco and like stand in front of the item and point it out to you and tell you why I believe it should be in your pantry, but Costco is packed these days. I don't know if you've been there recently, but I couldn't even stand like 5 feet back and record for 15 seconds without somebody coming in between me and the camera or me and the product or whatever else it is. So what I did was I shot some videos of each one, and I'm just going to tell you about it right here and just basically do a voiceover for each of the items. So the first thing I want to talk about is the best if used by date. Now, I came into Costco because I want to get some Honey Nut Cheerios. I wanted to get those, a double box of the family pack. It's like it's like this wide. It's really big. You can't really tell on camera, but it's a huge pack. And it has a best if used by date of January 2026. Now, a lot of preppers know, people who've been doing this a while, you already know, just bear with the new students in the class, okay? But the best if used by date is not an expiration date. Anybody who's been doing this for a long time know that. The best if used by date is what the manufacturer is willing to guarantee that the product is still fresh on this date. Now, for the Cheerios, it says January 2026. That's a full 12 months out. But I'm here to tell you that it is still good and fresh 6 months after that if you store it properly. And it is still safe to eat maybe even a year after that. So we're looking at 2.5 years. Now, my Honey Nut Cheerios are not going to last that long. There's no chance of that being thrown away. That's why it's a good pantry item for me. There's no chance of me getting to a point where I'm throwing away my Honey Nut Cheerios. I realize regular Cheerios is healthier and that kind of stuff, but hey, I'm getting the fiber I need, so buy your own Cheerios. So, best if used by date is not an expiration date. The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is reducing your dependence on power. Now, one of the emergencies you should be preparing for is an extended loss of power. There have been too many stories about people who have had all their emergency items in their freezers or their refrigerators, and they end up throwing away hundreds of dollars of meat and dairy and vegetables after just 5 to 7 short days. If you're paying any attention into the news lately, you might learn and realize that America is not as fuel independent as we would like to be. We depend on a lot of things for us to keep the power going. Another thing you may not be paying attention to, may not have noticed, is that our power grids are not as sustainable, strong, or protected as we would like them to be. So the chances of you running out of power is actually pretty high, and I personally believe it's getting higher. So you have to be able to reduce your power dependence. This brings you to my personal favorite item. Now, I know I've built it up a lot, but I'm standing by this. I'm going to explain to you why. The next item I want to talk about is the Kirkland's shelf-stable almond milk. Some of y'all are probably disappointed, like, oh, I thought he was going to talk about something good. Hear me out. First of all, of course, it doesn't need refrigeration. Um, the best buy date is a year out, so it's good for at least 2 years. Tastes great, goes with my cereal. You can use it for baking. You can use it for anything you have that requires milk. You can replace it with the almond milk. And I'm gonna tell you this. So the 6 pack at Costco costs about $7. If you get a 12 pack, it's like $12 of the non-organic milk. If you were to go on Amazon right now and try to order a 6 pack of that milk, it will cost you $19.47 as of me recording this right now. So you are saving 70% by buying it at Costco instead of ordering it online. I guess because it's heavy and requires shipping and stuff like that. So I've already got a couple cases now. I'm asking that you do not hoard this item. Yes, it is a great item with a whole bunch of uses, but that's one of the first things last time we had during the pandemic, one of the first things they started getting short of and the price started going up. If you have a need for a couple cases, fam, please go ahead and do it, but don't go out there and buy 20 cases and plan on selling 16. You're hurting others when you do that. So I just want to make that personal. It's not a requirement, of course. It's just my personal wish and belief that you don't do that kind of thing. Because, if you do buy them all out, they're going to raise the price on the next pallet of milk that comes out. And they're going to keep on doing that. So try to have some self-control when it comes to that. Now, I've talked a bit about, we said dairy goes bad when the power goes out. Also, your meat and vegetables. Now, for the meats, there's a lot of canned meat options and dehydrated meat options. These are obviously not the healthy choices. There are ways that you can preserve your own meats and stuff, but Peggy and I, we've chosen the canned meats like Spam and canned hash browns and Vienna sausage and stuff. These are not healthy options. We can help them out by like rinsing them off before we cook them to get rid of some of the salt. These things are packed with sodium, and if you have a blood pressure issue, these could be detrimental to you. These could be actually harmful to you. So, in moderation. You don't need meat all the time. There's all kind of other sources of protein, as I talked about before. We talked about like chia seeds and peanuts and other things like that. Cottage cheese even has protein in it and stuff. So there are other ways to get your protein, but for the meats and stuff, and you want to have some on hand so you can not have to be so reliant on your refrigerator, then that's definitely going to be an option for you. So we talked about the meats, we talked about the dairies, also the vegetables. Canned goods. Now, we purchase canned items. We purchase canned vegetables for our canned goods, canned beans, canned string beans and stuff like that, canned corn. The ideal option would be to can your own items that you grow in your own personal garden. Our current situation does not make that the most effective way for us to do it. So as we build up our pantry, we're gonna be relying heavily on canned vegetables. Just like with the meats though, most of that salt is located in the water that keep those vegetables preserved. So empty out the can, pour out the water, rinse it off. You'll be getting rid of a lot of that salt, and that's going to help you out. And then you want to season it, instead of using salt, use some non-salt seasonings. And please keep in mind there's also a whole bunch of low sodium options that are out there. So if you get a chance to get some of those, make sure you take advantage of that. Now, getting back to power dependence. How are you going to cook your food, much less store it? Now, the refrigerator freezer is out. That's out of the question. You can't use your microwave or your electric stove. So how are you going to cook your food? So my next tip is to find alternative ways of preparing your food. Now, a big way is grills. Most people already got a grill. If you live in a home or a large rental property or whatever, you might already have a grill in your backyard. For those of us without that kind of option, Peggy and I, we got two food preparation options. I have a butane stove that I'm going to show you in a bit, and I also have a sterno folding stove. Now, Peggy and I did a whole video about the sterno folding stove like about 3 years ago, right around the pandemic time frame, and I'm going to link it in the description, and it's going to be right about here. And here's a thumbnail in case you want to know what it looks like. That's obviously another option that you may have. And I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to show you the butane stove now. Alright fam, so here's the Coleman butane stove I was telling you about. Not much to it, here it is, and it comes in its own case. You put your butane canisters in here, it looks like a little spray can. Place it in here, and you got an actual gas eye stove. Now, please keep in mind that some places don't allow butane stoves, like some apartments, and I think California, you can't even buy cans of butane there, so this is an individual responsibility. You gotta look and see what's available for your area. But for us, this is a fantastic option. I mean, it's lifted off. You can place the pan directly on it. And one can got us like over 2 hours of cooking time. So one canister which should allow us to cook 5-6 meals. Works really, really well. All you do, it has the little levels right here for you to adjust the levels. There's so many different versions of this too. There you go. That's the different level right there. But there's so many different versions. You don't need Coleman. All you do is look up butane stoves. You can find one in your area if it's available for you. And I really want to make sure I make this point. When people think about the power going out, they usually just think about flashlights. There's so much more to it than that. Now, we're getting away from the pantry a little bit, but because we're talking about food preparation, these next two items are pretty important. Some people only have electric can openers. I promise you, you have no idea how many stories Peggy and I received about people realizing they got all these canned goods and no can opener. I think it was a Tom and Jerry cartoon where he had all these cans of tuna but no can opener. That could be the most frustrating. Now, I use a P38 in those kind of situations, or there's the manual can opener, or Peggy knows how to use a knife. She's better at it than me than just using a knife, slamming it into the top of the can good and open it up. But make sure you have options. Make sure you know what you're going to do, and don't just wait till the last minute to figure out how you're going to do it. Also, if you're going to be using that sterno stove, you got to have a lighter too. So now we're looking at manual can openers and lighters to make sure those items are in your pantry to where you're able to prepare food during an extended power outage. Somebody shared this tip with me on the channel on the previous video. They was talking about the 7-meal deal, and I might be missaying or misnaming it or something, but they were like, figure out what the 7 meals you plan on preparing during hard times, during struggle. Like we often call them struggle meals. What are the meals you're gonna have? You know, for me, cereal and milk is gonna be a big one. We're gonna be able to, we're still gonna be able to cook our Spam. We got plenty of rice that I can boil in water with my little sterno pot, that kind of stuff. But have your 7 meals planned out and include everything you need with those meals and include the spices. Now, when we say the 7 meal, this is something where it's like a 7-meal rotation that you're going to be able to stick with for the long term. We're talking about 30 days, 90 days or more. Having 2 meals, having 2 basic menu items or 3 things that you're gonna have. Some people go out there and buy a tub of peanut butter and just say, I'm just gonna eat peanut butter every day until things get worked out, until things get figured out. I strongly urge you to get you at least a 7-meal plan. And then when I say everything you need with it, include the seasonings too. Like I said, we're trying to avoid so much salt, so there's plenty of options, seasoning options that I found even at Costco. But Peggy's the cook, so I have faith that she's gonna be able to make some delicious things for however long we're gonna be down for, if the need arises. But they call it hitting the fan, in case things do hit the fan. And family, please don't forget your dog. If you have any fur babies, please make sure you account for what they may need for an extended period of time. My little dog DJ does not eat kibble. He only eats fresh refrigerated foods while we still have refrigeration and everything. But should the refrigeration go out, it's like the moist and meaty packet that they sell at Costco. I get him a full box of the moist and meaties, and he will eat that after some time. He will probably try to avoid it for like most of the day, and then near the end of the day he'll eat it because he's kind of spoiled. He used to the refrigerated protein chicken and beef options that we get for him. Yeah, I spoiled little DJ. But even DJ knows that when push comes to shove, when stuff hits the fan, he's going to have food that's going to last him the entire time. So that's going to be an option for him. And of course, there's some of the items that at the table are safe for dogs. Make sure you know what's safe for your dogs. Don't just give them anything. Some things can be very, very harmful to their health. And speaking of health, okay, I'm gonna close this out with this last suggestion for you. If you are doing the 7 meal deal, even a 2 meal deal, 5 meal deal, or whatever it is, you're probably gonna be missing some of the vital nutrients and vitamins that your body requires. So you might want to look into some multivitamins and stuff, especially when you're getting a little bit older and you're staying inside for an extended period of time. Vitamin D, the body needs sunlight to assimilate, to digest and to use vitamin D. We weren't getting as much sunlight as we normally get during the pandemic, and that started to have an effect on people. There are many multivitamins out there. Don't overdo it with the vitamins. Maybe consider talking to your family doctor or physician about what their recommendations for you are, especially if you have shortages. Peggy has low iron, so I will make sure that Peggy has iron vitamins that her doctor approves to make sure we have enough of that on hand. And if there's any medications that you have, make sure if you can get a 90-day supply, go ahead and get a 90-day supply. And before that 90-day supply runs out, make sure you get your next 90-day supply. Like, keep it filled, keep it going, because the idea that we can always go to the pharmacy every couple weeks if need be, that may not always be the case. And that's why we prepare. Okay, so my Costco trip was fun. It's packed. Please don't hoard, like I said. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to spend a little bit of time with me. I look forward to the comments because, like I said, even though I give these tips, if you want to find a whole lot of great tips, go to the comments below here. And if you have one, please share it with the rest of the group, because we all still learn, no matter how long you've done this. I appreciate your attention, and we'll see you in the next video, fam. Take it easy.